The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, good evening. My name is Hanna. Today we are going to talk about software development life cycles, different types of them. And could you please let me know in the chat that you can hear me well? Thank you so much. So first, I want to say just a couple words about myself. So I also graduated Partnov Computer School many years ago, like almost 10 years ago. And after that, I had pretty successful career as software QA engineer and even QA manager. And I still work. And I also got my certification for as a Scrum Master. So I'm going to share some of my knowledge today with you. And later on, we will have a couple more sessions to give you some, I would say, basic understanding or introduction about Agile, Waterfall, Kanban, Scrum, and we also have some practices. We'll practice some meetings that usually go in the companies that follow Agile. Hope it's fine with you. Let's begin. So first of all, can you tell me what is SDLC? Do you know anything about it? Or is it all new for you? Software development lifecycle. Perfect. Thank you so much. You all did your homework. That's perfect. So today we're going to discuss following topics. SDLC and role of QA or testers in software development lifecycle. Also, we are going to learn about project management and software development methodologies. And you can ask me why, and I would say that we learn about different methodologies and different life cycles because as testers, we need to be involved. So developers write a code, project managers manage our feature developments and whatever we're going to develop, like backlog, and they prioritize our work. And we, as developers, as QA, would love to be involved and do the right things at the right time, right? And that's why we have to understand all these procedures to contribute our best. And today we're going to also have some overview of two methodologies, Waterfall and Agile. And I'm pretty sure that many of you already know about them, so it's going to be refreshment for you. And for some, I hope you will find something new in this presentation. So, software development lifecycle. Yeah, I had a question. What would be the first stage? But we already know that it's planning. What will be the second one? Or actually, to save time, let's put like whatever you know. Like what stages do you know in software development lifecycle? So first is planning, and second is requirement analysis. Thank you so much. I see that some of you did it right. And then goes design. Because how can we design without knowing what exactly we need to do? And after design goes implementation, right? Somebody has to write a code. And after implementation, what will go? Testing, our favorite part. That's right. And after testing, What will be? Deployment. You are right. You're totally right. Deployment. Unfortunately, we don't have additional stage for documentation. I would love to have it. As a QA engineer, I definitely would love to have more documentation to know what exactly am I testing and what exactly should be delivered. And after deployment comes maintenance. Thank you so much. You are all amazing. And so let's think about our part as quality assurance engineers. When should we start? Anyone? On which stage should we start? I see different answers, like on first, planning, requirements, testing. Link for webinar was above. Let me know if you cannot find it. I will try to post it again. Okay, about approach that doesn't match with Yana Murza. What kind of approach you're talking about? I'm not talking about Agile yet. I'm talking about of software development life cycle in general, and then we will move on to different types of. Okay, so to build better products, start quality early. How early? And we will start on planning a requirement analysis in ideal world. And why? Because if you are involved on this stage, you will know more about product. And you can be advocate and expert of user experience. So even during planning and creating requirements, you can provide your input and be part of some kind of user researches and give you feedback on those particular features that we're going to develop. Identify logical conflicts and discrepancies. Wait on new features. If, for example, a new particular feature was advised to do, for example, we all have experience like users working with Google Drive or with iCloud, and if our application is going to work also with this particular, to have these particular abilities, like save something and somewhere on a place you can provide your opinion on how UI is supposed to look or what functionalities will be better if we're going to save some kind of user documents. Identify poorly defined or unaddressed elements. Point out potential issues. So we all understand that if we will not have enough documentation, or for example, we're developing something for example, for mobile application, and in this particular place, we have some buttons or some functionality, and we don't have any specification how those buttons are supposed to work or how those searches are supposed to work or filtering. We can point it right away. So we will have less time in development, and maybe we will be able to develop better product in general. Provide feedback and ask questions. Ask questions. You can know in advance what will be developed, and you can ask questions from QA perspective to know better how to develop future test plans and test cases. So that's why having a preview can help planning for future tests. Let's move on to the next stage. Application design. We can also contribute on this stage, and especially during mockups. Do you know what mockup is? No. Okay, give me just a second. I think I said, since this question is asked a lot, I already can give you some example from web. So wireframe is just something without any beauty, and mockup is already has a future design, but it's not functionally working yet. So mockup, it's I would say it's a static design of a web page or mobile application, and all features present is like design element of this features already present, but they're not functional yet. And after mockup, prototype will be designed. That is something that is can provide you some kind of sorry, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time, so it's kind of difficult for me sometimes. So we can provide our feedback on mockup stage, like is layout is right? What about colors? Are they too bright? Are they like too light? What about font? Is it big? Is it small? Like, is it going to be readable? Is it going to be likable? So let's go back to our presentation. And on application design, we can identify human interface guidelines. When you start working on web, your web application and your mobile application, you will learn with two our wonderful teachers, Tanya and Jana, all about human interface guidelines. And I really advise you to memorize at least some of them, because when you start working, it would be easier for you to talk the same language with your developers when you're going to write your bugs, or when you're going to create test cases or work on your automation. You will know how to correctly name all these buttons, all those menus, and all these design elements of your application. Okay. I'm not sure about video. Do you really want to have my video? Okay, okay. I'll try to find it. Okay, let me finish with application design, and I will try to find this wonderful button. So, in application design on mockup stage or any other stage where you will be involved, you can not only verify human interface guidelines that especially for mobile, because for mobile, we already know, we already get used to our phones. And if you're going to develop an application for Apple, for example, you need to follow their guidelines to make your application more easy to use for users of the Apple. The same for Android, right? That's why we need to follow them. You can identify aspects of the design that might cause problems, like too bright, too small font, will not work for people with disabilities or something else. You are going to have a lot more sessions on that with Tanya. So will the application be likable, boring, annoying? You can provide your feedback. It doesn't guarantee that everybody will follow your feedback, but at least you will say your opinion. And it can reduce time in development. So I'm trying to find my camera. Okay, is it working? Hi. Okay. Let's move on. Implementation in testing, our favorite part. Tell me about it. What do you know about it? We all know about testing part. What about development, implementation? How can we contribute on this part? Anyone? Nice to meet you too. Unfortunately, I cannot see you, but making test cases, that's right. Propose solutions. It is possible if you have enough information. It is possible. Testing, of course. Automation, true. So we can be involved everywhere. We can test even when your application is under development. So it is possible to test not finished application. You will run Git, and this allows you to test development branch, or maybe some developer just working on some kind of small feature. In this case, you will be able to check out his branch or her branch and test it on your environment. Or you will be able to create your QA environment. It depends. Are you going to test web application or mobile application? But in general, you will be able to test application that is still in development or features that is still in development. It's not finished yet, and provide your feedback right away. You will be able to keep track of all updates. For example, some software development life cycles allows us to make changes during development. So if a feature will be decided that we're not going to develop it anymore, where you are going to update your test plan, test cases, and in general, kind of make sure that your time spent wisely, not testing whatever is not developed or not going to be developed anymore, or be better prepared. If you are testing for mobile, for example, if some, I would say, supported devices were updated, you will be able to prepare in advance what kind of devices do you need to test your application. And for web the same. You also will be able to know what kind of QA environment you need to test your web application. For example, recently, Internet Explorer, Microsoft stopped supporting it. So when we're testing web, we're not testing Internet Explorer anymore, our newer version. But older versions were still testing because some companies are still using Internet Explorer. So your company can make a decision like from version number 3 to not support Internet Explorer anymore, and just let know your customers that we're not supporting it anymore. And this also affects your work. So of course, bug reports, test reports, and prioritizing tests. Like if we have feature that is close to be done, we can set more priorities to these particular tests. Okay, development, deployment and maintenance. So if we are developing web applications, sometimes we need to be on call during releases. It also depends on what type of application you're going to be working on, and you will see in your particular company what will be your responsibilities. But it's possible in one company that I used to work, after release, we had this post-deployment testing, where we did our releases usually at night, because at night it was not so many customers looking on our website. So after release, we needed to do some kind of like sanity check and partial regression, not regression testing, I would say sanity and smoke testing after release. And hotfix testing, like if your company did release and something went wrong, it is possible that they will, you know what is hotfix, right? Yes, no? No, okay, hotfix. Sometimes company, we have like scheduled releases, right? Most of the companies have scheduled releases. So there is a date, developers develop, we test, we do it all together, all nice, and we release our software. And we perform some post-deployment testing. And something happened, we found some bugs, because you all know by now that it's not possible to have any software without bugs. Bug-free, it's just not possible. It depends what kind of severity bugs we find. So if you find something, or somebody find, or even the worst can happen, your customers can find bugs that are very severe, company decide to do like hotfix. So quickly, in a matter of hours or maybe day, but usually very quickly, developers started to dig and look what caused the problem, fix the code, and do the small hotfix release. Is it clear? And blunt, very small. Okay, thank you so much for letting me know about this voice problem. That's why I asked you at the beginning. Okay. Yes, this session is supposed to be recorded, answering your questions. I will think about it for next time, but unfortunately I don't have headphones right now. Okay, so interesting. For some of you, voice is not fine. For some, it's fine. I hope that in general, for most of you, is fine. Okay, let's move on. We'll try something new next time. Thank you. And so upgrades testing. We have like our big planned releases, and we have some smaller releases when we do some upgrades. And we also do testing for that. Okay. So our interesting and favorite part, project management and software development methodologies. Why do we need to learn about it? We will have a lot of benefits: make better business decisions, improve internal communications, save money, of course, everywhere save money, and iterate on your success. So if company uses some kind of methodology, it's better because everyone talks the same language, everyone knows where goes what, and when they need to do what. And if it's successful, we can repeat it next time. So some of them is Waterfall, Agile, DevOps development, Raft application development, and so on. Let's talk about Waterfall. Do you know about Waterfall? Yes, wonderful. So we are going to go quickly through it. Sounds good to me. So with Waterfall, we do everything one by one. Requirement analysis, we finish this, we go into design stage, designers start to work on design. After they finish, they put everything, all documentations that were created to implementation. And after implementation finished, we go to verification. This is our part where QA start to work. And when verification, all verification finished, we go to deployment, and after deployment to maintenance. So it's one by one, slowly, steadily, and some companies need that still, and some companies still use waterfall model. And if we talk about waterfall, we can say that it's sequential linear process. And it started in manufacturing in construction industries because they have highly structured environment, and changes, they are really too expensive and sometimes not possible. Like, for example, if you're building a bridge and you decide that you start to build it already, and you decide, okay, I want to make it a little bit wider, it will be just impossible or very, very expensive to reduce it. And each phase must be completed before next phase can begin. And there's no overlapping in phases. And I wouldn't say that it's very inefficient. As I said, for some industries, it's when we need very thorough documentation and when we need everything done very methodically, particularly, and that we need to control every stage of a process. A waterfall will be amazing. Like, for example, I don't know, like, yes, those manufacturing construction or maybe pharma where we create some kind of medicine. We need to be very, very, very careful. And for banks, probably yes. For some banks, probably too. Yeah, I agree. Okay, and yes, you're right. Verification stage is where our QA start to work. Advantages and disadvantages. So I saw one very inefficient, and I agree that it can be inefficient when you're working in startup company that developing small product or something. So any advantages you can think of, maybe, or disadvantages? Slow. That's true. It's very slow. I wouldn't say slow. I would say that it takes a lot of time to see your product. It's a very long process. Good documentation, Natalia, wonderful. Very conservative and may minimize catastrophic errors. Yes. Lost money? I'm not sure about it. Could be expensive. It also depends. Everything could be expensive. Agile can be expensive too. Full control over process. Yes, I agree with you. No flexibility, Alex. Yes, no flexibility whatsoever. So it's simple and easy to understand, use and manage. It's like, you know, that one stage finished, the next stage begins. That's it. Phases are processed and completed one at a time. It's also easy to understand and easy to manage. Very defined team roles. So you're going to have your product manager, you're going to have your team manager, you're going to have your QA team separately, development team separately. Everyone will have their manager has their manager, and so on. Clearly defined stages and milestones, as we talked before. Easy to arrange tasks. You will be assigned tasks. Your manager will decide what to do and send you a list of your tasks. And processes and results are well documented. This is good advantage. Because as a QA, you need to have some kind of documents to be able to verify whatever is developed. And let's go to disadvantages. No working software is produced until late during the life cycle. This is a huge disadvantage. So we can spend like a year developing some kind of product and nobody tested it. And during tested, we verify that some part of this software are not going to work at all, or not going to work on supported browsers, or maybe new browsers already there and it's not working. Or maybe we developed so long, so much, and our customer doesn't want to have it in this way, for example. And the testing is done only at the later phases of the project. This is also not good. Doesn't allow to identify challenges at the early stages of the project. Yes, if we, for example, as a QA or even developer were more involved at the beginning, they would provide their opinion and maybe identify that this particular software will not support so many users. And these platforms that we use to develop will be out of business like next year. We cannot identify all risks at the beginning since we are not involved. No allowance for uncertainty. So we cannot say like maybe we will develop this by this particular time and spend like 1 or 2 months on testing. We have our deadlines and we need to complete everything that needs to be done by that deadline. Cannot accommodate change in requirements, for sure. If a customer decides to change something and we are on a testing process, I'm pretty sure it will be very, very difficult to change anything. Just in scope during the life cycle can end the project even at this stage. Integration is done at the very end, doesn't allow to identify challenges at early stages of the project. So we talk about it. Yes, more risks because market changes quickly. So for some software, it will be just unacceptable to have this waterfall model. And no flexibility, you're all right. High risk of getting an outdated product by the end of the process. You are just great. So let's go to Agile. What do we know about Agile? Okay, can you clarify the second to last disadvantage? Second to last. Adjusting scope during the life cycle can end the project. For example, we decided to develop like ABC features, and we think that we planned that we are going to develop and deliver this in like 3 months, and everything planned. And for example, our customer at the end stage decides that they don't want to have those BC features, and they have this. They want this D and E feature, or they are not going to accept the product. And we don't have resources, we don't have money, and we don't have time to deliver it anymore, because since we're going to use this D and E feature, we need to go from the beginning, like planning, designing, and all the rest of the stages. And we don't have enough time to meet our deadline. Is it clear now? Sure. So let's talk about Agile. It's more flexible, it's more popular, it's widely popular right now. And everything you can read in Manifesto for Agile Software Development. And if we go to this manifesto, you have this page in any language. And it's very short. We are uncovering better ways to develop in software by doing it and helping others to do it. And through this work, we have to come to value. And let's talk about values. Okay, before we talk about values, sorry, we will talk about a little bit of difference in methodology. If you remember, for Waterfall, everything is linear, and each stage goes after each stage. With Agile, we have sprints. We have like short amount of time, like 1 to 4 weeks usually. It cannot be less than 1 week. I didn't see in my experience sprints more than 4 weeks, and but usually 2 weeks. In my experience, 2 weeks were very good for the team. And this period of time called sprint, and during this sprint we are going to go through all stages, and we're going to repeat it. We're going to do this full circle, and then another circle, and another circle, and another circle, and this how it works. So Agile is collaborating to iteratively deliver whatever works, and it's an incremental and iterative approach, as I said before. So increment, we are going to develop, test, and deliver some small piece of product, and then we're going to do another iteration and also deliver a little bit more. And is it clear? Yes, no? Super. So let's talk about values. And if we talk about values, we have 4 of them. Individuals over interaction, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. What does it mean? It's the first value of Agile Manifesto. We are going to value people more than anything, because it's people who respond to business needs, and people who actually do this development process and drive this development process. Okay, and communication. It's very valuable in when you're working in agile environment, because communication is kind of fluid, and and it kind of sticks the team together, and it helps and communication between team happens when needed, and not only going by scheduled meetings. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Yes, we in the Agile teams, we are more focused on delivering the working software, and documentation is updated as needed, but it's not first priority. And sometimes working with working in companies that following Agile, you will find yourself not having enough documentation for you to learn and to work. And in this case, you will need to go to developers, product owners, and talk to them and get this information. And if you will be able to update documentation or create documentation, it will be highly appreciated. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So in general, negotiation is a period when the customer and the product manager work together, and they work on details of delivery and negotiate all these details. Collaboration, it's a little bit different. So with Waterfall, customers negotiate the requirements at the beginning before the product is even started to be developed. And in Agile, customer is involved more, and we receive feedback from the customers more often. Responding to change over following the plan. In traditional software development, any changes are very expensive, and we're trying to avoid them. Not we, but traditional development, software development is trying to avoid any changes. In Agile, we are fond of changes, because with changes and updates, we can deliver a better product in a faster time. That's why we need those sprints to kind of develop, take a pause, and see what was done, and plan, change, and go with another cycle. Okay, and now we have 12 principles. So customer satisfaction through early and continuous software delivery. Customers are actually much more happier when they receive working software at regular intervals, when they can see the progress and not sit and wait, will it work or not work after 6 months. So waiting extended periods of time between releases are kind of, I don't know, sometimes challenges, sometimes difficult for them. So when they see releases more often, it adds to their satisfaction. Accommodate changing requirements throughout the development process. So with this, we can avoid delays or when requirement and feature requests changing. So as change goes, we can start developing and testing it right away. Frequent delivery of working software. So Agile accommodates this principle. Team operates in sprints. So that's why after each sprint, we have to have deliverable software. It doesn't matter if we're going to release it or not, but in general, it should be, I would say, shippable. So if it's shippable, our sprint was successful. And we talk about it more during our next session when we are going to practice Scrum. Collaboration between the business stakeholders and developers throughout the project. It's always better when we can make the business and technical aligned, and all these decisions will be made together. It will save, again, time, money, and we will have common understanding of what's going on. Support, trust, and motivate the people involved. If we are all motivated in our team, it's more likely that we will deliver our best work. And unhappy teams are usually deliver less. Enable face-to-face interactions. And this is one point that is kind of challenged now with all this COVID situation, because Agile believed to be the teams supposed to be co-located. In this case, they will communicate better. But nowadays, with all this technology, with all these Slacks, all these Zooms, and everything else, we kind of managing to go with Agile, even with remote work. Working software is a primary measure of progress. So we're not measuring our progress or how many hours did we work. We measure it, and this is kind of our ultimate factor of satisfaction if our software is working. Agile process to support a consistent development pace. So our goal is to work consistently, sprint by sprint, and that our teams and team deliverables will be repeatable, and we deliver and develop and test in the same speed. Okay, so it will give us consistency and accountability for future results. Why are people standing, not sitting down during the meetings? Yes, it was to keep timing, because stand-up usually goes only 15 minutes. And that's why when you're standing, you're not going to want it to have it long. At least I was explaining this way. But now I'm working remote, and actually I'm sitting during my stand-up. But stand-up is still only 15 minutes, and it actually very consistent. And if you have more questions during stand-up or want to discuss something more, it's usually advised that you meet with some people later and ask more your questions. Stand-up is just to deliver your status. Okay, where I was. Attention to technical detail in design, enhanced agility. What can I say about it? So if you have right technical skills, you can constantly improve the product. And so just and also having right people that with right skills and good design of the product, it kind of ensures that your team can maintain the pace which is working. Simplicity. Develop just enough to get the job done for right now. Self-organizing teams encourage the great architectures, requirements, and designs. So to make Agile team work to the best of they can perform, they need to be skilled and motivated. Team has to have like skilled and motivated team members, right? Who can take ownership and of the work and who can communicate regularly with other team members and share ideas. And in this case, quality product will be delivered. Regular reflections on how to become more effective. We are going to actually have this reflection meeting. It's called retrospective meeting. And at the end of the class, we're going to have our own retrospective meeting with software that's used in many companies. So it was going to be fun. Well, let's move on. Advantages and disadvantages. Can you think of any advantages or maybe disadvantages of Agile? Anyone? People do not get burned out. Advantage. Yes. More collaborative, flexible, adaptive. 100%. Flexibility. Yes, it's one of the greatest advantages. Could be charged. Flexible design. Design is not adaptive. I'm not sure about that. Minimal requirements. It's yes, it disadvantage, and your team should be very self-organized to keep at least minimum requirements, but good enough requirements to make it work. Okay, you answering too quickly. Okay, let's go. So advantages, continuously quality assurance. This is amazing because we test all the time. Faster software development lifecycle. It's much faster than Waterfall and some other models. Customer focused, increased customer satisfaction because, as we said, customers can see what they want, their product updated very quickly, and we can react and we can actually, if our customers that are using our product think that our product will benefit of some kind of features, they can give some kind of improvement request. And if our team finds this valuable, we can deliver this like next release or in a couple of releases. So it's wonderful that we have this customer collaboration. Flexible in accepting changes. Yes, it's like we cannot even say any more about it because changes are coming every sprint. Empowers teams to manage projects because teams are managing the project. When you be working in Agile team, you will have like backlog of tickets and nobody is going to tell you what to test. You are going to be involved and you will receive this information during stand-up meeting who is working on what, and you will make your judgment what you're going to test first and how you're going to do it. So it gives you a lot of power, a lot of flexibility, and of course a lot of responsibility because you are making a decision what you test, how you test, and when you test. Promotes efficient communication. It's amazing with Agile. We don't have those long meetings. We don't have this like some companies actually still have those company meetings, company-wide meetings, but it's like not a lot of them. Agile kind of tends to have meetings shorter, but more efficient in communications. And it's ideal for projects with non-fixed funding. Like we have funding in this particular startup for a year, so we live sprint by sprint and hope to get another round of funding. So with disadvantages, it requires a high degree of customer involvement because we're shipping to them and we need their feedback. Assumes every team member is completely dedicated to project. This is very important because agile team can be successful only if everyone in the team is dedicated to this particular project. Because agile is a less control on you, and nobody is actually counting your hours like meticulously, and many companies allow you to work at times that you like and maybe have different working hours, but point is that you have to be dedicated to the project, you have to be involved. Limited documentation, we talked about it a lot. We love documentation, and with limited documentation we can face more challenges. Difficult planning at early stages. Yes, it can be because we not always can think about this. We don't spend like a lot of time. We don't have this planning stage that goes for months that we can think of any challenges that we're facing or anything that will be affected by developing this product, or maybe tools that we are going to use. But point is that since we have these iterations, it is wonderful that we can change everything, even what we plan to do during next sprint or in couple sprints. A lack of long-term planning. Some people think it's disadvantage, but I personally don't see it that way. And one of the disadvantages is that initially Agile recommends co-location for efficient communication. So Agile works the best when we had like open spaces, when we had whole team in one building, so we can just stop by and talk if we need to talk. And before COVID, I used to work like that. If I had any issues or any complications during testing, or maybe something that I need to know from developer, I would just stop by and talk to them, or ask them to stop by my computer and see what I see. If there were some very hardly reproducible and bugs, or maybe they can provide me some more information and different tools how to test this is this particular difficult situation. However, I'm working fully remote now, and it's totally fine with new software that was developed for communication. We can share our screens via Zoom. We can pair program with some developers by Zoom, and some of my colleagues are not even in the same state or in the same country as me, and it's totally fine. Sometimes time difference makes it's difficult to communicate properly, but anyway, it's always possible to find a way. So I don't think that how it was initially developed to work with Agile as team in the same place, it's totally fine to work with teams working remotely. Okay, Agile was the waterfall. Do all startups use Agile approach? At least all startups that I used to work with, they were using some kind of Agile approach. Some of them used Scrum, some of them used Kanban, some of them used Scrumban, and I even work in the startup that has several development teams, because some of you already knew if you watched before these videos from Yana. So team supposed to be, for example, in Scrum, not supposed to be more than 9 people, and it's 9 people at all. So it's going to be like product owner, Scrum master, whole developers, and some QA people. It should be 9. So in some bigger companies, it is possible to have several teams, and each team can decide what works better for them. Some of them using Scrum, some of them using Kanban, and some of them using Scrumban. I worked in the company that had several teams that used different methodology, but they were all under Agile umbrella. Okay, Agile versus Waterfall. Let me read a little bit. Yes, the team takes collective responsibility, and potential failure would not be blamed on one. Yes, this is totally true. If some release killers, release blocker bugs, kind of did slip to production, I didn't feel the blame that I was the one who missed them. It was a whole team who did investigation, what happened, which commit caused this release killer, and which test could have caught it if we would have those automation tests. And but we will talk more about this release blockers investigations and release killers investigations if you want me to talk about it. More errors in builds. Not all features may be released in builds. Yes, it is kind of true, but point is that with Agile, we more focused on time, not on feature development. Let me give you an example. Like with Agile, we plan our work by our time instead of features. Like for example, we want to develop features, and we want to develop them in that order, for example. And we'll try to get it done in 2 weeks in our sprint, right? And we'll see if we can do that. But we definitely gonna do these features ABC. This is set of mind for kind of waterfall development and old feature development, right? But with Agile, we are more focused on time. And like for example, we are gonna do development for 2 weeks, right? And we're going to try to do features ABC. If we're right on time, or even if we finished early with all those features, we can add additional feature, like feature D, right? But still, we're just focusing on time instead of like features, and then if we will be able to keep it in this particular time. It's sometimes difficult to comprehend and to switch our set of mind from one to another, but I hope it's clear. Okay, so since Agile works in incremental 2-week sprints, and what point in life cycle do we have a software that can be tested or used by end users after how many sprints on average since it was? It's a very good question. It's actually, we test from the very first day. Of course, it's like if it's very, very beginning of the product, we will not have this working software to test. We will work with product owners on requirements. We will work on preparing our future test plans if we have requirements, and think about what tests can be done. But usually, when you join the company, already something developed. And when sprint starts, you will go and test whatever you have. Like you always have something to test. From the very first day, from Monday, you will go and test. And second part of the question about customers used by end users. In some companies, releases are tied to sprints. I used to work in the companies that we developed mobile applications, and at the end of each sprint, we were doing some kind of release, some kind of upgrade. Later, we decided that it's too much, and we started to do at the end of the sprint, we just checked our software internally. So it was in working state, but we didn't do releases to the customer. So we did our releases like we actually can decide as a team, should we do it every 2 sprints, every 4 sprints. Some big companies are doing like 4 releases, 4 major version releases a year. So every like 4 months, it is also possible. But you're still gonna have your sprints where you can test every day. And at the end of the sprint, it's going to be something that can be delivered to the customers. Did I answer your question? It depends on the product. To be honest, it really depends on the product. Like, for example, in one company, we were developing social games on Facebook. Our releases were tied up to Facebook updates. At that time, it was several years ago, Facebook did their updates, their releases on Tuesdays. So we always planned to do our releases after the updates, just to make sure that whatever they change will not affect our games. So we tested whatever was ready to release on their updated Facebook application and then released. Okay, hope I answered the question. Okay. No, QA, okay. It's also a very good question. How QA is synchronized with the development team in Agile? Do QA usually test the build from the previous sprint, for example? So basically, there's at least one build behind. Not really, and not always. It is possible that you are going to test features that are under development right now. Like since we're working in incremental and iterative approach, so your developer takes some kind of small feature. They usually not big. They're separated to very small pieces of feature, I would say, and they develop it, and you test it right away. Like as soon as your developer puts a PR, you start testing it. Like for example, he or she started to work on it on Monday, and by the morning Tuesday, this particular PR is ready to test. You will test it on developers branch, and it will be merged on develop, and so on and so on and so on. And then, for example, if your company decides to have releases like every month or every 4 weeks, and you have for 1 week sprints. So then, before this major cutoff, it is possible that you will be asked to do regression for this particular release, and then it will be released. But you are still going to do it in parallel. It's not like you will be testing whatever they developing, and they are developing, and then you're testing. No, as soon as they develop something, you are testing it. As soon as feature done, you're going to have exploratory testing on this particular feature. Then create test case, test plans, or better create test plans and test cases before feature developed when you have requirements. And developers developing, you're writing your part to be ready to test when it will be ready, as soon as it's ready. And when you start working on your test plans, test cases, you will talk to developers. You will talk to product owners to gather more information, to fulfill those gaps that we have in documentation in the company by creating those tests and those, and even you can start working on automation, and you can start create, because automation also takes time. So if you know what they're going to develop and you know how you want to test it, you can start working on creating your automation for the future. Okay, something with my mic again. Sorry about that. I will think about it for next time. Hopefully it will be better. Does Agile team use outsource such as graphic design, musicians and others, so they should be part of the team? Yes, we use outsource. I used to work with Agile team when I was only one QA at some point, and we used outsource when we needed to do like full regression testing before major releases, or even if we wanted to, after feature delivered, we wanted to have some kind of exploratory testing, we used company, probably heard about it, it's UTest. And we also had one outsourced team in another country, and we had outsourced team. I'm talking about QA right now, but we also had outsourced team of developers that were in Europe, and they had just it's a little bit different because they cannot be. Some of them can. Okay, yeah, I know it's complicated. I'm trying to think about examples where they. Okay, I work in the company where we all distributed, and even developers are kind of outsourced. They're still part of the team. They go to our stand-ups and they deliver, and they can take whatever they think is appropriate, or we discuss as a team what we're gonna work on this particular sprint, and they can take on their will their tickets from backlog and work on them. But also on my previous company, we had this outsourced team that was not part of our team and was not part of our agile development, but we used them to do extensive testing, for example. So they were testing our product at some point of time when we needed them. Did I answer your question? I hope so. So for agile teams, it's still possible to work with outsource, but it will depend. Are you going to take them as a part of your team, or are they going to be just additional help? Okay. Thank you so much. If you like me to share my working experience, I can do it. Okay. Are we going to discuss the quiz? No, we're not going to discuss the quiz because I was told that you were not given a homework last time. That's why I will ask you, some of you who didn't watch the videos, to watch the videos over weekend and by Monday to have a quiz. If you had a quiz already, I'm happy for you. We're going to discuss results on Monday, and we'll also talk more about Scrum itself. It is possible to work entirely remotely without much experience. Yes. Yes, it is possible if you're willing to learn and if you're willing to communicate. Because in this case, you will be able to get everything that you need for your work. And you will be able to start. I mean, in our company, we have a lot of interns, and they are successful. So, okay, let's finish today's class. So, Agile versus Waterfall is, as we said, incremental and iterative for Agile and linear and sequential for Waterfall. Agile separates a project into sprints, divides the project into phases. Focus on customer satisfaction, focus on successful project delivery. Requirements can be revised and changed can be made anytime. And I truly believe this is wonderful. One of the wonderful things with Agile, because it can help your company to be up to date, afloat, and everything will be good. Requirements are prepared once at the start, no scope changes. It's very rigid. Team manages the project. Project manager's role is essential. Testing, yeah, this is our part. Testing is performed concurrently. Testing phase comes only after build phase. Are we clear on that one? Hope yes. Super. So, what am I going to learn next? Agile, Scrum, Kanban. So Agile tends to be used an umbrella term used for flavors of Agile, including Scrum, Extreme Programming, Kanban, Scrumban, and so on. So I would, for myself, when I started to learn about it, it was easier for me to think that Scrum and Kanban kind of subsets of Agile. And they are lightweight process framework for Agile development. So remember, Agile, it's a methodology that our team use. But Scrum and Kanban, they're frameworks, right? That also our team use. And they have a lot of stuff that is going to be useful for us to feel better in that environment. So I'm done for today, I think. Please do your homework. And on Monday, we are going to, oh yeah, one more, Jira. You will receive invitation into Jira. Please accept it, because on Monday we will try to look at Jira from point of Scrum. You didn't receive your invitation to Jira yet? Oops. Okay. I will talk to, yes, you're supposed to get an email, and you're supposed to receive a form to provide you information, and Tanya will add you to, yes, Tanya will add you to the project in Jira. What is the difference between Scrum and Kanban? We are going to learn all about it. It's not one answer question. So yes, you filled out a form to have access to Jira. After that, you will receive the invitation. Okay? Yes, 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 Jira access request. Please do. And when you will receive invitation by email. Yes, usually invitation goes by email. Probably not today. Hopefully close to the weekend. But on Monday we're going to work with Jira. Okay? Yes, I will share my presentation. So thank you so much and have a good night. Okay.